Business Skills 360, the podcast that looks at the other side of business English. Hello, everyone. Tim here with another Skills 360 podcast. Hope you had a fantastic summer, and now you're feeling refreshed and ready to get down to work. We've got a great lesson today on making the most of personal learning. And here's some good news for everyone interested in personal learning. The Skills 360 podcast is now available as its own channel in iTunes. Just head over to the BEP or MyBE Online websites for the free subscription links. Okay, now I mentioned personal learning, and I'm guessing that if you're listening to this, you must be a pretty motivated learner. Am I right? You are keen to improve your language ability, your communication, and your overall business skills. And you've decided to tune in to a podcast to do those things. That's great. But does it stop there? Is that all we have to do? No, not if you want to make good progress. So let's look at some ideas to make the most of your personal learning. Let's start with goals. Now, I went on a lot about goals and how to achieve them in a previous episode of Skills 360. Anyone remember what makes a good goal? Well, in case you don't recall, let me jog your memory. Goals should be SMART. That's SMART. And what do those letters stand for? S is for specific. M is for measurable. A is for attainable. R is for relevant. And T is for time sensitive. So make your goals specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. If you do, they're SMART goals. Feel free to look up our previous episodes if you want more on setting and achieving your goals. Now, your goals can be big or small, whatever works for you. I mean, one of your goals could be to devote 1 hour every day to studying English. That's pretty straightforward. Or, your goal could be to develop your skills enough to attain a high score on an English test, such as TOEIC or BULATS. Achieving a goal like that will most likely mean you will have to set many smaller goals to achieve it. Great! Now your goals can be part of something bigger, part of what we call a personal learning plan. To create a personal learning plan, you need to sit down and figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, which skills you want to develop, how much time you have, how much money you can commit, and what exactly you want to accomplish. Then you can create your plan. This will help put some method behind what you're doing. The word personal is very important. Your learning should suit you, your interests, your schedule, your abilities, and your SMART goals. There are gads of online tools that can help you do this. You can use bookmarking tools like Delicious, social networking tools like Google+, as well as YouTube and SlideShare. In fact, if you think about the online tools that you use for business communication and entertainment, these are probably all useful in building a personal learning plan. If you want to take it up a notch, you can try the new Course Builder tool on mybeonline.com. All right, now one thing to keep in mind is variety. Variety in what? Variety in everything. You should be varying your type of input, the source of that input, and the difficulty of your input. Your type of input could include both reading and listening, as well as vocabulary work and grammar, if that's up your alley. The source of your input could be radio, television, podcast, newspapers, and face-to-face interaction. And the difficulty could range from materials created specifically for language learners to those targeting native speakers. In a word, mix it up. Listen to some of my 360 shows, work on a couple of BEP podcasts, then hone your listening with CNN or BBC. Then maybe switch over to some video vocab lessons and read some business reports from Bloomberg or CNBC. You get the idea. Another point I want to make about your input is that it should be relevant and interesting. I mean that it's relevant to you personally and your job. Studying what is not relevant or interesting will make you bored. And being bored will make you unmotivated. What you study truly has to be useful. Great. Remember to set SMART goals and build a truly personalized learning plan that has a variety of input that is both interesting and relevant to you. Keep those things in mind, and you'll be on the road to success. That's all for today. If you'd like to test yourself on what we've just covered, have a look at the mybeonline.com website. There, you'll find a quiz about today's show, as well as a complete transcript. Next week, we'll look at how to maintain your progress and keep on track with your personalized learning plan. So long, and see you again soon. Business Skills 360, the podcast that looks at the other side of business English. Welcome back to the Skills 360 podcast. My name's Tim, and today we're going to look at some more tips and ideas for making the most of your personal learning. And FYI, listening to Skills 360 just got easier. Yes, this podcast now has its own channel on iTunes. If you don't already subscribe, visit BEP or MyBE Online for the free subscription links. Okay, so last week I talked about setting yourself up with a system of personal learning. Today, I'm going to be talking about maintaining your momentum and staying on track. All right, you've set some goals, found some resources, and come up with a plan for your personal learning. How are you going to stick to that plan? One of the greatest things you can do to maintain your momentum is to establish a routine. If you keep thinking that you'll study if and when you get the time, or if you just try to fit in some listening practice every now and then when you get 20 minutes of free time, chances are you won't achieve your goals. You'll go nuts with frustration. You need to be regular. This usually means studying at the same time every day, whether it's on your commute, over your morning cup of joe, or part of your evening routine. Doing it the same time every day will help make it a habit. It will become second nature, just like brushing your teeth. Part of your routine should include a regular review of what you've already done. There's nothing worse than putting in the work to learn something and then forgetting it in a short time later. In last week's episode, we talked about variety, which means the breadth of input. But you also need depth. So don't forget to look back and reinforce what you've already studied. Now, remember in our last episode, I talked about setting goals, SMART goals. Well, as you work toward those goals, you need to track or assess your progress. Are you actually coming closer to reaching your goals? Assessing your progress could involve breaking your goals down into stages. Reaching those stages means making progress. This could also mean keeping a careful record of what you do and what you can do. You will be able to look back through your record and see how far you've come. Another way to track yourself is to use our Buddy Bucks system on mybeonline.com. What are Buddy Bucks? Basically, they're points that you earn for participating and learning. The more Buddy Bucks you earn, the more progress you're making. The more Buddy Bucks you earn, the more progress you're making. It's a great way to see how much you're getting done. But tracking your progress is not always enough to keep your learning on track. You might need to dangle a carrot in front of yourself. I'm talking about rewards, which are closely related to motivation. You have to feel like you're getting something for your hard work. You have to feel like you're getting something for your hard work. You can certainly set different kinds of rewards for yourself for achieving certain milestones or reaching certain goals. For short-term goals, it could be something as simple as a cup of coffee. For larger goals, it could be a movie, or concert, or even a weekend away. And this is another way that Buddy Bucks might help give you a spark. When you earn enough Buddy Bucks, you can cash them in for access to more Business English Pod resources, or access to human resources. By that I mean teachers. Which brings me to my next point. Sometimes, learners encounter roadblocks when they have difficulty in their studies or can't find answers to their questions. When this happens, some people flounder or become dejected. But you don't have to. Someone has the answers to your questions, and you don't need to suffer in silence. I'm talking about teachers. Get help when you need it. If you're not taking a class and don't have a flesh and blood teacher to help you, then go online. Post your questions to popular forums and watch the responses pour in. Or connect with a teacher online for one-on-one help. How or where to find a teacher? Well, we'll have an answer for that soon, so keep your eyes on mybeonline.com. Great stuff. That's all for today. I'd like to wish you the best of luck in your journey of learning. Take good care of your motivation, and you'll do great. If you'd like to test yourself on what we've just covered, have a look at the mybeonline.com website. There you'll find a quiz about today's show, as well as a complete transcript. So long, and see you again soon. Business Skills 360, the podcast that looks at the other side of business English. Hello, and welcome back to the Skills 360 podcast. I'm your host, Tim Simmons, and today I want to talk about adapting to change. You might have heard that change is the only constant, meaning nothing ever stays the same. That's easy to say, but not always easy to deal with. Many of us like certainty and stability. We get comfortable, and we want to stay that way. But being comfortable shouldn't mean being complacent, especially in today's world. Change doesn't always happen at the same pace. These days, change seems so fast, and the COVID-19 pandemic has introduced new uncertainties and has accelerated certain trends, like the move toward remote work. Many industries have been battered, and the fact that people are tired of the word pivot only demonstrates how the pace of change has accelerated. We're dealing with office closures, scheduling upheaval, working from home, lockdowns, shuttered schools and online learning, travel restrictions, and quarantines. And those facts of life have spurred a host of changes to our ways of working and relating. So how can you adapt in this complex, ever-changing, volatile world? How can you stay ahead of the curve and ensure you don't get left behind? I'm going to start by advising you to pay attention to your own health and wellness. Uncertainty breeds anxiety and stress. That can take its toll on the best of us, and it may even lead to burnout. So develop good habits for sleeping, exercise, and diet, and stay connected socially in whatever ways you can. If you're working from home, as many of us are, ensure healthy boundaries between your work and personal life. Learn to close the office door at the end of the day and leave it closed. And while you might have enjoyed foregoing a morning shower and wearing pajamas early in the pandemic, you might discover that gets old fast. Maintain your professionalism and a sense of routine. I know one manager working from home who actually drives his car around the block at the start of each workday just to produce the feeling of transitioning from home to work. Whether or not you're working from home, you've surely been asked to use some new tools and technologies in the past year. Embrace these new tools and maximize them. Sure, the world is plagued with Zoom fatigue, but you can learn to use Zoom well, and you can even lead your workplace in developing policy, best practices, or guidelines for these tools. Unfortunately, many people and workplaces muddle along with these new tools, either misusing or underutilizing them. So put some time and resources into training. You don't want to be that guy, the one who still can't find the mute button during a Zoom meeting. As the world and workplaces navigate new ways of working, you may have to be more intentional about building relationships and networks. It can be terribly easy at this time to become isolated and retreat to your own echo chamber. But this is dangerous. Keep reaching out, strengthen your existing network, and work to expand it. Investing in building your network puts you in a better position to take advantage of new opportunities. You might be inspired to seek new opportunities on your own, or you might be forced into it as companies pivot their workforces or shed employees and costs. Either way, you want options, and the more, the better. In this regard, managing your risk requires openness. Opportunity is everywhere. You just need to learn to see it. All of this advice applies whether you are adapting to change within your current job or you are dealing with job loss or a furlough. If you're out of work or temporarily laid off, stay productive. Improve your skills. Expand your network. Take care of yourself. And stay up to date on all that's happening in the world and your industry. Besides pivot, the word that everyone seems to hate these days is unprecedented. Like it or not, it's apt. Never before have we seen change happen so fast and furiously. And if you don't want to be left on the trash heap of history, you've got to learn to keep up. That's all for today. If you'd like to test yourself on what we've just covered, have a look at the businessenglishpod.com website. There, you'll find a quiz about today's show, as well as a complete transcript. So long, and see you again soon.
Business Skills 360, the podcast that looks at the other side of business English.
Hello, and welcome back to the Skills 360 podcast. I'm your host, Tim Simmons, and today I want to talk about how to adapt to an ever-changing world. Our world has been undergoing massive changes, and it's not just the global pandemic that has wreaked havoc on the economy. There's political turmoil, rapidly evolving technology, climate change, and calls for greater social justice. Our work and workplaces look and feel different because of this. There's less travel, increased automation, more remote work, and moves toward greater equity and inclusion. Nobody's untouched by these changes, but not everybody is equally adept at dealing with them. Now, more than ever, we need to learn to accept, if not embrace, volatility, uncertainty, and ambiguity. If you're waiting for the world to go back to the way it was in 2019, you're going to be sorely disappointed. So what does adapting to these long-term changes involve? It starts with staying informed. You'll be better equipped to respond to change or proactively plan for change if you understand what's going on. Stay up to date on societal shifts in general and shifts in your industry in particular. Don't be the last person to know. This is part of an overall strategic approach to your own career. A strategic approach requires a combination of foresight and insight. That is, you need to think about what's going to happen, not just what is happening today. And you need to work to understand it so you can respond appropriately. But any good strategy should be flexible. Gone are the days when you could plot out a career path and be confident that simple company loyalty would assure a rise up the ranks. Many people don't even really want that anymore. So it's not just about planning, but flexibility and openness as well. Some people say that the pandemic has divided the world into restorationists and opportunists. Restorationists are hoping for a return to normal, whatever that is. Opportunists are looking for new opportunities, embracing new ways of working, and seeing transformative possibilities in a difficult situation. It's already clear that restorationism isn't really a tenable approach. So find the opportunities and watch out for new possibilities. As you look around at those who've lost their jobs, it may be tempting to cling to every bit of security you can. You may not want to take risks when there's so much uncertainty. But in your armchair risk analysis, remember that not changing or not acting is, in itself, risky. One thing we've seen throughout the pandemic is rapid upskilling. People who once resisted video conferencing tools like Zoom or communication tools like Slack have been forced to learn, and learn fast. Those who were already using these tools have had a leg up on everyone else. So think about what's coming around the bend next. What technologies are likely to shake up your industry and workplace? And how can you ensure you're one of the first, not one of the last, to learn them? At the same time, understand the limits of technology. Not everything can be automated or outsourced. The people who understand this are better able to make themselves irreplaceable. Just ask Daniel Pink, author of A Whole New Mind. Pink talks about the skills and abilities that are necessary for the conceptual age, as he calls it. He's talking about abilities like creativity, design sense, storytelling, playfulness, and empathy. If your job is technical, you might think these abilities are not so important. In fact, they're ways you can stand out and increase your value. Just think about it. Your company might be able to outsource bookkeeping or coding, but could they ever outsource empathy? The topic of empathy brings me to my final point, which is about getting comfortable with social change. Accountability and trust are rapidly evolving. People are examining power and privilege in new ways. Forward-thinking leaders are working to understand their own unconscious bias and creating more opportunities for traditionally underrepresented groups, like people of color and LGBTQ folks. If you're part of these groups seeking greater equality, you've got both new opportunities and new challenges. If you're not, then ask yourself how you can enhance your own awareness, understanding, and empathy. Change can bring on a wide variety of emotions. At times, it might feel confusing or frustrating, or it might be exhilarating and inspiring. But regardless of how you feel, it's happening. Our world and the economy are changing. So how are you changing with it? That's all for today. If you'd like to test yourself on what we've just covered, have a look at the businessenglishpod.com website. There, you'll find a quiz about today's show, as well as a complete transcript. So long, and see you again soon.